In this video, I'm going to show you how I take my super curly hair and set it in a roller set. I'm also going to share with you additional tips and tricks and what I shared in my other roller set video. So if you want to see how I took my hair from this to this, ooh, she cute, then keep watching. Okay, so I showed this clip in a previous video, but I want to revisit it again because it's really important that when you're first starting out doing roller sets, that you use your roller to measure out the width and the thickness of the amount of hair that's going to go on each roller. Okay, so how do you do that? Well, let's back up just 1 second. See this outer ridge on the roller? You're going to use that as your guide for where you're going to part your hair. Meaning you're going to part on the inside of that outer ridge. If you part your hair on the outside of it, you're going to have too much hair and it's going to fall off your roller. Next, you're going to use the diameter of the roller because it will help you determine the thickness of each section. And so you're going to part your hair right behind that roller. By doing it this way, when you first start out doing roller sets, it's going to help ensure that you have an equal amount of hair on each roller, which will then translate into equal drying time throughout your whole head of hair. And it goes without saying that as you do more and more roller sets, you'll get better and better, and then you won't have to do this little technique, but I'm telling you, it will be a lifesaver when you first start out. All right, now let's talk about that very first roller and how you should place it. I want you to look at the direction that I'm brushing my hair in and the direction that I'm holding it in. It's facing down towards my nose, not up high towards the ceiling. If you try and place your first roller with your hair pointed up towards the ceiling, you're not going to have enough room for all your rollers to fit in that perfect mohawk going to the back of your head. By doing it this way, that front roller just shifts forward just enough to where you have enough working space to fit all your other rollers that are going to go to the back of your head. Then for the rest of the rollers in that section, you'll notice that I am going to comb the hair kind of at a 90-degree angle, and that will help me with the roller placement in terms of making sure they all fit, but also making sure that I get the roots nice and tight. Okay, now let's talk about how do you get the right amount of tension when using these rollers. Because if you don't get the right tension while using them, you're not going to get the desired outcome that you're looking for. So before you add your roller in, you want to make sure that you make the hair nice and smooth. I prefer to use my bounce curl brush, but you can use a fine-tooth comb, a boar hair bristle brush, whatever helps you achieve that smoothness to the hair. That's what you want to use. Now, once I've gotten my hair nice and smooth, I'm going to go in with my roller. Do not place your roller initially at the very ends of your hair. If you do that, it won't allow you to get the grip and the tension you desire. As you place the roller, you're going to use your thumbs to help stabilize your roller as well as help create the tension. And then your fingers are going to be smoothing the hair around the roller as you roll your hair downwards. Look at how I'm pulling it up as I'm rolling it. I'm taking out any slack that's there and creating the right amount of tension so that my hair is nice and smooth on that roller from root to tip. Now you're going to place your roller pin to ensure that your roller stays nice and tight. Now I'm not going to fake the funk. These are kind of hard to use at first, but once you get it, you got it. And you can use duckbill clips if that's easier. I tend to add a few in here and there. Something else that's very helpful is to pre-part your hair. So once you use your roller and you figure out the width of the section that you're working with, just take it all the way to the back and clip it up. I highly recommend that when you first start out doing roller sets that you do this, as well as just pre-section the sides too. It will make your life so much easier. And of course, with practice, you'll get better and better, and you probably won't need to do that. But in the very beginning, I promise you, it will save you a lot of headaches with doing roller sets. Another tip is use a lot of water. I didn't use as much water in this roller set as I could have and probably should have. And that's because I used the Color Wow Dream Coat. And with that, you have to apply it on damp hair, blah, 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 blah. You don't want to do soaking wet hair. But when I'm not using the Color Wow Dream Coat, I'm going to apply way more water because you're going to get a straighter and silkier end result because the water helps relax your hair and it just gives you a smoother look off those rollers. And also really quick, I got asked this a few times. My hair wasn't blown out or stretched or anything like that. I actually just had brushed it out right before I started the roller placement process. So my hair was damp. It wasn't soaking wet, obviously, but it was definitely damp. Now, here's another interesting little tidbit about how I do roller sets. I don't use any setting lotion. I just use a leave-in, water, and sometimes the Color Wow Extra Strength Dream Coat. I prefer it this way because I have used a setting lotion in the past and I just didn't like the way it made my hair feel. Like I felt like there was a residue left on my hair, and it also felt like my hair wasn't as light and as fluffy as when I just used water only. Not to mention, I don't have any issues with longevity with my roller sets. My scalp will give out before my roller set does. Maybe it's because of where I live, but I've also traveled to humid environments and I didn't have any issues with the longevity other than fighting the humidity, you know what I mean? And the other thing is, I don't like the way my hair feels with a setting lotion once I use heat on it. It just gives it a weird feeling versus when I don't use it. I just, like I said, I have a lighter, fluffier, flowier feel and look, and I prefer that more. And lastly, while we talking about it, I've done a roller set on other textures of hair different than mine, and I still go back to preferring without the setting lotion because when I did the setting lotion, it just left the hair feeling kind of like blah. I don't know. Just sharing my viewpoint on it. But always do what works best for your hair, you know, because we're all different and unique and we all need different things. All right, now that we done beat that into the ground, let's switch gears. So I like to sit under the hooded dryer anywhere from an hour to an hour and 15 minutes. It just depends on how much water I've used in my hair. Now, obviously, the more water I use, the longer I'm going to have to sit under the hooded dryer. So make sure you are sitting underneath the hooded dryer long enough, because don't do all that work and then skimp out on sitting underneath the hooded dryer long enough and then ruin your, you know, all your work, all your hard work at that. But girl, I promise you, every time you do it, it's just going to get better and better and better. And you're just going to turn around and be floored one day at how amazing your hair just falls off that bone. Well, off the roller. It ain't a bone, but girl, you know how the meat be falling off the bone when it's cooked just so perfectly. Anyways, that's how your hair is going to be. Now, the awesome thing about a roller set is like you could literally brush it out, wrap it, and just end it here. You don't necessarily have to put any heat in it. It's up to you and what your desired result is, but I think that you have to play around with it a bit to figure out what that looks like. At least that's what I'm doing for my hair. I'm still in the process of figuring out what exactly works the best for me, how much heat. Right now, I'm using very minimal heat, but it just depends on how good my roller set comes out, because sometimes I'll use a light flat iron at 370 degrees to hit my roots. Other times, I don't even need to do that. So it just depends. But what I love most about this whole process is that you have options. And I think that this is a great way to wear your hair in a stretch style with minimal heat or no heat. And you know, just shake it up and enjoy something different. Another thing is, this is my best roller set so far, and I know it could have been even better. Matter of fact, let me show you my roots and what they look like prior to me adding any heat in. My roots got pretty doggone straight. I mean, I was really impressed with this. I did ultimately go in with some heat. I used my Amika thermal blowout brush, which I absolutely love. But that's just my preference. I know that some of you are going to look at this and be like, why did you even bother? Like, you're doing too much. But we're all being respectful and we're all showing up and doing our hair how we want to show up and be seen. And that's okay. That's okay. So I just know we's nosy and we want to know and see all the things. So I'm just showing you in great detail because I'm very detail oriented. Anywho, this was the end result. This was after I wrapped my hair in cellophane, sat underneath the hooded dryer for about 5 to 10 minutes, added in a little bit of light oil to my mids and ends. But I ended up having to add in a bit more heat by using my Amika thermal blowout brush day 2 because I didn't add enough on day 1. And so when I went out into the world to see the peoples, my hair started to revert a bit. So I just came home, hit it up, and boom. And I absolutely love it. I think it came out beautiful. I'm very happy. I absolutely love roller sets. It's become one of my favorite styles. And really quick, I have been live streaming every single day, showing you day to day what I am doing with my hair and how I care for my hair, the decisions I'm making around my hair, and why. So if you haven't joined yet, make sure you join. I also created a playlist around it. It's called Daily Hair Vids. So I'm sharing that just to let you know that I'm planning to do a live roller set. I don't know when that will be, but make sure you are looking for it and that you have your notifications set, because I know you're nosy and you want to know and see all the things. And until next time, bye.